Whoa! Welcome to the What's Up Already podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead and hit that follow, subscribe, like, bell notification buttons. Hit them all. I hope you keep up with our episodes, especially here on YouTube. I'll just get it out of the way. We're going to be transitioning to full YouTube. So,
woo!
For most of you guys listen and watch anyway, so you might as well see our pretty faces or ugly faces, depending on how you look at it. But we're just
time of day we're filming.
That certainly depends and is very true. So yeah, we're going to be transitioning fully to YouTube. That seems where most everybody that listens or watches is anyway. So I guess we'll still call it a podcast. It's called a podcast on YouTube. So go check it out. Everything will stay the same. It's just that we're going to be on YouTube. Eventually the website might make some changes to that. We'll see. Anyway, YouTube. Go check us out there. But hit all those buttons. We appreciate it. It helps us grow the podcast. You know what else helps us grow the podcast is tell a friend and family member about us. Also, tell some random nerd that needs a date about us, or tell a helicopter parent about us too. You can tell them.
Make a Craigslist ad about us.
Ooh, see, Alex on it. Make a Craigslist.
I will date your son to get him out of his shell for a car. 100%.
Absolutely. We'll be creepy bastards to get listens. I'm not above it. With that, if you couldn't tell, we're here today to review No Hard Feelings. It was released on June 23rd, 2023. It was written and directed by Gene Stupnitsky. It stars Jennifer Lawrence, Andrew Barth Feldman, Laura Benanti, Matthew Broderick, Natalie Morales, Scott MacArthur, Eben Moss Bachrach, Kyle Mooney, and Hassan Minhaj. Wow, this movie. On the brink of losing her home, Maddie finds an intriguing job listing. Helicopter parents looking for someone to bring their introverted 19-year-old son out of his shell before college. She has one summer to make him a man or die trying. If you haven't seen this movie and you want to avoid spoilers, now's the time to pause the podcast, go watch the movie, come back, pick up where you left off, because we're going to spoil the shit out of this thing and we're going to have a good time doing it. Okay, we got to look. We talk about topics as we go through this stuff, and I don't have this one written, but the more as I'm introducing this movie, I feel like I had one come up, and that is that there are a lot of these movies that have been made, right? Like,
yes,
versions of it. One of my I don't want to say favorites because I don't love these kind of movies, but one that I find entertaining is Matthew McConaughey and
Failure to Launch.
Yeah, Failure to Launch. Ironically enough, Sarah Jessica Parker, Matthew Broderick, they're in this thing in the opposites of this, but like I appreciate, because that movie's funny. There's some really great parts to it. Matthew McConaughey he just drips screen presence, and Sarah Jessica Parker's great. So, and there's a lot of great side characters in it before they were actually super famous that were riding on McConaughey and Parker's shoulders and coattails. So I appreciate that movie. However, on the flip side, like, I appreciate the toilet humor of this version of it. Like, I can get behind the full R rating, and they leaned hard into the full R rating, and I like that. Like, I appreciate it. So I went into this movie worried and laughed a lot harder than I probably should have, and I'm kind of embarrassed about how much I enjoyed a lot of this movie. But with that said, Jennifer Lawrence certainly carries this film. Without her, this movie is a steaming pile of shit.
Oh, the worst steaming pile of shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, it starts right at the get-go. And it does not slow down. I mean, there is no other actress on the planet that you could put in that role and have it play as well as Jennifer Lawrence did. This would be a dog shit of a movie if you take her out and put anybody else in there. which is a little bit sad from the movie plot's perspective.
Sure.
Right? Like, couldn't write it better, but at the same time, also, like, kudos to Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
For sure. It's crazy, like, that you say that too, because I'm with you. Like, I racked my brain prior to today trying to figure out, is there another actress that could have pulled it off? I can't think of one. Like, I even went as far as, like, maybe like a inner prime Zoe Deschanel, because she's funny, but she doesn't have that menacing, like,
no,
she's
like,
not scary.
Jennifer Lawrence is scary as fuck.
Yeah, like, I would love to meet Jennifer Lawrence, but like, she was scared. Like, I'd be like just waiting for like that.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of
come after you.
There's a little bit of like, don't fuck with this woman. Like, she will fuck you up, and it shows in this movie, and I believe it. And I think that's one of the differences. Is like, Jennifer Lawrence throughout this movie goes from like super sweet to vulnerable to frightening to full on nude suplexes on the beach. Like, I'm like, and I believe every second of it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the difference. It's like, I can't think of an actress that could pull this movie off, period. Besides her.
No, because she also, like, on the flip side of that, she has this don't give a shit attitude.
Yeah.
When it comes to Hollywood in general, or, you know, the movie scene. So she has a, you know, what the fuck kind of thing that it's not necessarily a movie persona, right? It's just her.
Yeah.
So it plays off super well. And it made this movie enjoyable.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. This movie doesn't work without her at all. It just doesn't. It doesn't. And with that said, even though this movie does work because she's in it, I don't want to take too much credit. This newcomer, Andrew Barth Feldman, he had moments of brilliance. Like, he hasn't done much, but he was funny. I had some moments where I laughed quite loudly at what he was doing. So I appreciated him too. Like, he was a good balance. Jennifer Lawrence was obviously the star of this movie and carried it on her shoulders. But her co-star did pretty well, given the circumstance.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's got to act next to Jennifer Lawrence, the whirling dervish and the phenom that is Jennifer Lawrence. So, yeah, crazy good. And I always love Matthew Broderick in a weird character. Like, he date her hard. Like, date him hard. Like,
we fully support sex workers.
Yeah. It's just all I could think about was like, and I look at him and I'm like, first of all, how does he still have that much hair? And two, like, why is Ferris Bueller trying to get his kid to like that's all I saw. I was like, this is Ferris Bueller 40 years later. Like, that's all I could think about. And it worked for me. Like, I loved Matthew Broderick in the 12 seconds he's in this movie.
Yeah.
It is, but
I mean, I think my favorite part was even just when they first meet Jennifer Lawrence, this character. And you want to come down here or should I come up? You can come up. And she's in the rollerblades trying to come the steps.
And you know it's because this asshole just wanted to see her climb the steps in the rollerblades. Oh, what a dick. It was great.
It played well.
Oh,
and so you had like several sequences in this movie where start to finish it played well. The issue was Jennifer Lawrence was in every single one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. There wasn't a scene in this movie there's a couple, I guess, with the parents and the kid, but there were very few without her.
She is in just about every part of this movie. And not just like in it, the center focus of it. This was Jennifer Lawrence's movie.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody else was just, there.
Basking in the glow.
Yeah.
I will say, with all the fun, and I'm sure there's a lot more funny to come up, especially in this next topic, but to Alec's point, the cringe is real.
Oh my God.
Like, there were parts that I was laughing and very uncomfortable at the same time. Like, and then ashamed that I was laughing and enjoying it as much as I was, because they don't. The one thing about having this movie and the plot that we follow, because in reality, like when you think about failure to launch, it's very awkward, uncomfortable premise, and it's very gross in a way. When you take it to a toilet humor R rating, it's even worse. And there were some seriously uncomfortable moments that my sociopathic nature found very fucking hilarious. But looking on it from a human perspective, it's pretty cringy.
Oh, so cringy. And I was blindsided by the cringe. Right? Because in like the promotional materials, the trailers and everything, you're led to believe that this is raunchy 100%. And it is. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But it was far less raunchy than I expected and way more cringy.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Holy shit. I was like, I gotta text JJ.
Oh, dude. I'm telling you. Yeah.
I mean, to the whole point where, Jennifer Lawrence seducing this 19-year-old in the dog shelter. I was sitting there, no joke, like worse than in a horror movie for me. Because I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
Come on, dude. When she's dragging the freaking chair across Men in Black style, like,
I want to be closer to you. And he's just like, so how long have you been working?
Yeah. Well, and then I love when she gets that weird couch over to the desk and all you see is her head, but she's so committed that she rests her chin on the top of the desk, like all cutesy and shit. Like, I was dying. I'm like, this is horrible. Horrible. It's funny as hell, though.
It was funny, but at the same time, I was unbelievably uncomfortable.
Oh,
and I'm someone who really doesn't get like super uncomfortable in a lot of things. So if we were watching for the podcast, I might laugh because I couldn't handle it. And having that blind side come in because I was expecting like rom-com raunchy.
Yeah.
Right? And to be just hit with absolute cringe. Spine shivering.
Yeah. Well, and like, so it brings up a thought that I've had that as I was watching this and thinking about it comparatively to other versions of this that we've watched, right, in the past that are less R-rated, but still just as cringe. Like, you're just this awkward situation. But like, in this one, it's worse because there's a level of like, she's 32, he's 19. Like, and again, legal. Nothing wrong with it. Some people have made marriages out of it. With the great joke about the teacher and the student with the, you know what I mean? With the
realtor,
real estate guy. But like, it makes it kind of worse too, because it brings out this piece of me going, when I was 19, she wouldn't have had to work nearly that hard for me. You know what I mean? And again, I wasn't an awkward hovered. I was a borderline Gen X. My dad used to throw me out of the house every night, lock the door and tell me come back when the street lights turned on. You know what I mean? So I had that socialization. I can't imagine this younger generation who are locked in their room constantly. And I'm a gamer. Like, I play a lot of video games. I'm sitting right now in a dark room, only lit up by LEDs that are around my shelves and a ring light in front of me. But as a 19-year-old kid, I was out doing shit, right? We didn't have cell phones when I was 19 that were affordable for normal human beings. It's true. I didn't have my first cell phone until I was 21, dude. Cell phones weren't a thing when I was 18, 19 years old. Like, I had a pager when I was 17. That's as technologically advanced as I was at that age, dude.
I love the JJ old jokes.
Dude, I know. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think about it, I was like, man, she had to work really hard for this 19-year-old. And then I think too, like you hear about the stories of like, and we're gonna go into a very illegal place, but like you hear about the students being sexually assaulted by their teachers. And when I'll tell you right now, when I was in high school, we looked at that very differently. Like, and I realize again, I'm old, but we used to make jokes about that shit. Like, to that and I had a hot teacher. Ooh, I had a couple of them where I was like, sign me up. You know what I mean? And now, and obviously that's wrong. I am not saying it's okay, right? But in that moment, when I was in that teenage years, like, I think back
it's all
now,
you're thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. Like your hormones are flying like crazy.
Yeah.
I would absolutely have gone there. And as a 19-year-old kid, if Jennifer Lawrence comes up and starts hitting on me in a freaking dude, what do you need? What do you want? Where are we going? And I wouldn't care. Again, I'm not going to get emotionally attached that way. And I am the wrong person because I was never that kid. I was always very socially out there. But like when it comes out and they find out it's about a car, I'd have been like, you should have just said some shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would have been perfectly okay with that. You can use me for a car all day long.
Honestly.
Yeah.
It's funny to me though, and this kind of moves into our next topic to where for like the first time ever, I related to both parties in the movie. Because going back to your point, I don't pick up on any signals, any hints whatsoever. I am the worst when it comes to like reading things like body language or, someone dropping hints. To hear Oshi tell it, this is how she tried to get me to date her. And just,
I love that.
Just missing completely because, like she's like, oh yeah, I was like flirty and everything like that. And did you notice how much I was touching you? Right? Like touching arm and shoulder and, making contact. And I was like, what the fuck? No. Like I touch people all the time, mostly like, hey, tap on the shoulder, move out of my way.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So I was like, no, I don't know. I didn't notice anything of that. So I was sitting there in the theater going, is that what she means? Like, is this what? And I was like, it wasn't this bad, surely. And she was sitting there just giggling. She's like, I did some of these things. I was like, I had no clue, no idea what was going on. So
that's hilarious.
But then on the flip side, I'm also Jennifer Lawrence in the sense where I like to push people and get them like uncomfortable. Like where we have the dinner scene and she's like ready to make a toast to get him to go play the piano.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's me 100%. 110%. I have zero problem standing up in front of a room full of strangers and putting somebody else on blast.
Sure.
But I can't read a signal to save my life. So I was sitting there and I was going, I'm both these people. And it was a kind of a unique viewing experience because usually I'm like one or the other. And I was sitting there, I was like, I'm both of them. And I don't know how.
I love that. Yeah, I can relate to, like, I guess I can't relate so much, as weird as it is. And obviously I've never been in the situation where I'm trying to bring somebody out of their shell in the way that this movie does. But like, I obviously relate more to the Jennifer Lawrence side because she's this fish out of water in this world of young people and technology that's weird. And I do a podcast with at one point 3 to 4 people that were always at about 10 or plus more years younger than me. So I would say shit and get these like blank stares across and I'm like, oh God, you guys are fucking 12. And so, and then the same thing, like you guys will say some shit and I'm like, huh? The fuck are you talking about? And so I can complete, like, for example, when she goes to the party.
Oh my God.
And like everybody's got their phones out. And like I was sitting there going, what the fuck kind of party is this? Like, and I laughed my ass off when she's opening all the bedroom doors. She's like, there's nobody fuck anymore. Like
everybody's on their phone.
Seriously, they're all like just laying there fully clothed in a bedroom on their phones doing some shit. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Because I'd go to parties like this and you didn't open bedroom doors. That's rule number one. Unless you were going to one with someone, you didn't open those rooms. There was 1 or 2 rooms that you were okay because those were like the doing illegal things rooms, substances, mind-altering substances within that room. The other rooms were once you were on those mind-altering substances, you went to fuck. And so you didn't go in there, right? And so I laughed because like she walks into like 4 rooms and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So when she said, does anybody fuck anymore? Like I literally burst laughing. And like I had a couple people looking at me funny because that was exactly what was going on in my head. I was like, what? There is no sex happening whatsoever in any of those rooms. The fuck happened to parties, man? But that was also after like the whole like everybody's streaming and shit at the
bullying,
party. Like,
and we have a bully here.
Yeah. When they're chasing her around the house with the phone. Well, that's the other piece that caught me because I was like, we would never have streamed because
what
we
were
were
doing.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to be having the party. So why would I parade that out there? But then it got even better at the end of the party when like the mom and dad are there. They're present for the party. I'm like, this is perfect for like not my generation.
Oh yeah. Like,
is that what a party for you was like when you were a kid? Like,
oh, I didn't go to parties.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
I was I had my group of friends, and we would hang out, and we would do stuff. Javier was one of them, things like that. But we mostly, if we were doing something that would be not, what's the word I'm looking for? Not good, I guess.
Yeah,
we'll go simple. Uncouth. Yeah.
There you go.
We went out somewhere else to like the hills to do it.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
So houses, no. And the area that I grew up in was pretty popular for, you had like a kind of rich income mixed together with everything. So it was just kind of a hodgepodge of literally everything. So the cops were called on just about any kind of noise disturbance. So, I was a smart teenager in the sense I was like, I'm not getting messed up with any cops.
Gotcha.
So we're going to go do stuff. It's going to be out there where nobody can hear you.
Sure.
But no, I was cracking up too because I was thinking the same thing. Right now, you got years on me, but I was going, I've seen all the early 2000s rom-coms, Van Wilder,
sure,
all this kind of stuff, and it depicts this exactly what you're talking about. Versus now, I was sitting there, this is hilarious. First of all, like the streaming, busting into the doors of the bedrooms and not having, nobody's fucking. They're all on their phones. And then the kicker at the end, like, you think that we would let our child have an unsupervised party or something like that?
No shit.
Like, you have to leave. Like, they are so about this letting certain people in, right? Like not letting her in or kicking her out, making sure the party stays like within what they can control, but at the same time they got a keg downstairs.
Yeah.
And it just gets this whole backwards feeling to, again, it brings out like a funny poke at the typical tropes you see in a movie like this.
For sure.
But adapted to a newer generation that just doesn't understand.
Yeah. Well, and jokes just don't like, and insults. Like, I love that she comes in and like these two guys are talking about, like, I don't even remember how the joke went, but like she basically says, you can go fuck each other. And they're like, why is that a bad thing? And I was like, that's a beautiful response. And I love it. And then like she starts backtracking. She goes, no, asshole. I wasn't being that. I wasn't meaning that as an insult. And I was just like, yep, that's a generational gap thing. That's just hilarious because I would say shit like that. Like, not that I have any problem. I mean, go back and listen to previous episodes. I fully support my LGD. I can't say the letters. My gay community, homosexual, trans, all that shit. Like, I fully support that community. Rainbow flags all the way. But I would say shit like that in the moment because that's the way we would throw insults around, right? But I would do it.
It's a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. And it wasn't even intended to like, but that's true. Like, any insult for any community. Like, there are small exceptions, but like, yeah. So it was funny to watch her react. That's not how I meant that, because now she's on camera. That's the world we live in, right? Like, how many times do you see, you can't say shit, or you better watch it because you're gonna probably be
recording
recorded
somewhere.
Yeah. It's a yeah. That's why I watch. Yeah, I'm a much different person than I was back then, but still, I would never do anything in public that could get recorded. So I found that pretty funny too. But yeah, the party was great. I was just thinking, like, for me, like, the compare and contrast, and maybe we should make this video for like a TikTok or like some YouTube like short or something. Stick that party scene when it comes out on video and we can use it like with artistic license, and then Uncle Buck party scene. Like those two side by side, watching the difference of traveling those parties. Like, I was like, that's funny shit right there. Because that's what I was thinking of, was the Uncle Buck party as she was walking through that. I was like, this is a very interesting contrast to that kind of 1980s 70s party. So anyway, yeah, I don't relate necessarily to anyone but her in the movie, but I did find that very funny. That and the dude with like the friend's husband, that shit was great. Go back in the ocean.
It's raining.
It's raining. Get in the fucking ocean. Shit was great.
Or Sam has something to tell you.
Yeah.
He walks off.
I can relate to that, dude, for sure. For sure. Anyway, it's meant Casey knows why. Like, okay, I'll go back in the ocean. Shit's great. Yeah, so then this is more of a funny topic, and then I want to talk about the movie as a whole, but somebody that's an Uber driver, please tell me, can you make that much money as an Uber driver? And I realize that different locations, we're in Montauk, we're in the summer when the very wealthy travel there in summer near the beach, but for real, like, how much money does an actual Uber driver make? Because
I'm about to quit my job.
Seriously, like, we know she wastes at least like a few weeks in the summer because she doesn't have her car, and she's trying to get this car by dating this kid. When she finally gets a car, they don't tell you how much time, but I'm assuming, given, I would say it's probably a couple of months she's driving in the summer. And she makes like, what was it, 16, 17 grand in a month and a half, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, something like that. I'm curious. Can you make that kind of money driving people around? Because I'll go move to Montauk tomorrow and fucking be an Uber driver for the summer. And then I'll go find somewhere. And then I'll come to Arizona in the fucking winter and drive around all the old people.
Scottsdale.
Exactly.
Snowbirds in Scottsdale.
I know all about Scottsdale. I lived in Scottsdale for a while. It's too fucking hot in the summer, god damn it. But there's a lot of wealthy people there. Mm-hmm. That and certain parts of Glendale. So yeah. So I just had that question. So hit us up if you're an Uber driver. Leave a comment. I'm curious. You don't have to tell us how much you make. Just, is that realistic?
Yeah. I'm curious too.
Yeah.
Maybe we could take the podcast on the road.
Oh, fuck, that would be fun. The Ubercast.
Ubercast.
I like that. Look, this movie was it was exactly what I thought it was going to be, and yet it was very different. But the last thing I wanted to talk about, I don't have it on the list, but it kind of goes back to Jennifer Lawrence. Like, there were moments in this movie while I was uncomfortable because the cringe was real, and there was some very, like, I was like, "Ooh, that's dangerous." But there were parts of this movie where I just felt like things didn't fit. So, for example, and this is weird because they're very poignant parts of the movie. At the dinner, when he's playing the song, the Man-Eater song, like, again, kudos to J-Law, because, like, this whole moment, she doesn't say a word, she barely moves, but her facial expressions are saying a lot. And I was like, this almost doesn't fit for me. And what I really wanted was, but I also love that she came back, because you think, based on this, she's going to, like, be pissed, right? But then she goes back, she goes, that was amazing. And I was like, it was amazing. And but it was just, like, there were certain moments that almost pulled me out of the movie. And most of the time when I say that on the podcast, it's a bad thing. This one wasn't. It was a good thing in this situation. And then there was the moment where they're sitting on the couch and, like, kind of he's going over like his situation and what had happened to him with and I don't even remember exactly, but whereas like he wanted to disappear and he quit, like, because they'd made fun of him or they videoed him. I can't remember the exact details of the story, but
it was something like I think he used to sleep in his parents' room.
Oh, that's right.
It was a sleepover, and he used to sleep in his parents' room, and so they blew this into, rumor mill.
Yeah, and it turned into like they're saying that he even had sex with his parents or whatever. Yeah. That's right. So that moment too, I was like, God damn, like it's covering some serious topics. And then you have the whole Jennifer Lawrence character with the dad issues and the fact that her dad was a visit Montauk, had an affair with mom, didn't want anything to do with her. Like there was some very heavy topics covered in this movie that I really enjoyed. It just felt like the more I thought, I was like, it feels really out of place next to the fact that this scene just happened after she suplexed some kid on the beach fully naked, which I thought was amazingly hilarious. And then all of a sudden we're sitting on a couch learning about this poor kid's getting bullied and why he's shut it. So I don't like, it was weird to me. So I kind of wanted your thoughts. Cause like I said, in the midst of it, I'm sitting in the theater going, this is surprisingly poignant and serious for this movie. Almost too much to the point that, like I said, it pulled me out, but it was great performances. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn when it comes to that topic of some of the things were very serious. And then on the flip side, I want to talk about something else, but I want your opinion on that thought first.
I had something similar, or noticed something similar when I was watching it, because to me anyway, it felt like they were a little bit, not fully committed to this raunchy rom-com, right? Because like you said, we've seen this story before in dozens of different tellings, dozens of different situations. I mean, this is almost even most similar to what we talked about Matthew McConaughey in Failure to Launch, except in Failure to Launch, Matthew McConaughey is shirtless. In this one, Jennifer Lawrence is. But you have this kind of, this retelling of the story over and over and over again. And like you said, we were both kind of going in expecting this rom-com story, and they flipped it on its head in several moments to tell this, story of the budding relationship or friendship even that you get between these two characters, which while we talked about super kind of weird and cringy based on age relevance or things like that, it's also, like especially in today's age where you have everything's online, like the cyberbullying, friends are online, video games is where everybody spends their time. Like you find a friend where you find a friend. Right? It's not so much your peers anymore, and you're talking to someone who's a year older, a year younger. It's not that. You're finding people who have a similar situation as you, and they become your friends. A lot of age barriers, or what we would see before, like you're interacting with people who are in a similar situation, I guess, or that you can connect with, and you're looking for that human connection in the cyber world wherever you can find it. So I thought it was kind of a cool twist to put it on its head.
Yeah.
But it was very jarring to the point where I was like, okay, this isn't really what I signed up for. Stop it. Stop making me feel like what's going on here. But it was a unique and kind of a cool twist they put onto it.
Yeah.
Which was refreshing because Hollywood has done the same movie, the same plot over and over and over and over again until it fucking is so predictable that there's no point to even watching the movie. You know what happens. Yeah. This did a great job, I think, of being unique in Hollywood, which is hard to do. And they lead you into thinking, oh, no, this is just going to be the same rom-com I've seen 100,000 times. And nope, just kidding. There's a story behind this that actually makes you, and oh, that was a good moment. That was, they were able to make it serious while still keeping it funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a similar thought.
Yeah. Yeah. It just was like, well, this is serious. And then the other piece that I did like too a lot that was different from these other versions that we're talking about is that usually there's one person, like in Failure to Launch, McConaughey needs to figure out his shit, right? And understand that what he's doing isn't doesn't work. Like they even have that point where all the animals are biting his ass because he's outside of nature's norm, right?
Yeah.
In this one, I liked that it was both of them that had to figure some shit out, right? Like the kid was in a position where he needed to be more independent and had to stand with his parents and shit like that, which is a whole different topic. But then she had to figure out that he was right. So the 19-year-old taught him some lessons, right? Or her some lessons about living life and the fact that she's trapped herself due to a terrible circumstance, but something that she needs to get over. And, the very ugly statement that he made to her about, you're here waiting for a dad that's never going to come back. So it's just like, whoo, shit got real. So I like that too, that it wasn't just a one-sided life lesson thing, right?
Everybody's got problems.
Yeah, everybody's got their issues, and together as friends, they made it work. I will say that there were a couple of moments that I was like, oh, so close to feeling grossed out about this movie too. And that's weird for me because, again, I don't give a shit if a 32-year-old and a 19-year-old are having sex or together. Like, that's their life choice. It's legal. Game on. But I will say that what I knew that they had done a good job of, like, creating the relationship with these characters. And again, a lot of that goes to Jennifer Lawrence, but this kid did well too, because in that moment when he finds out and he invites her over for dinner and he's setting everybody up in that awkward situation, and he's like, I want to have sex. And she's like, okay. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not a good choice. Like, don't do that. And then they go forward with this and like they're in bed and he's, what do I do? Get on top. I'll help you. And I'm like, holy fuck, are they actually going to have sex in this movie? Like, and again, nothing wrong with it other than they have a friendship that I'm like, no, come on, guys. Like, you have built a level of trust and this will fuck that up. And I was like, oh, and thankfully, as I'll have never, nor will I ever probably say this sentence again, thankfully, he blew his nut early.
It counts. It counts, JJ.
Yeah. That was thank you. That was my thighs. It was so awkward, but I was like rooting against sex, and I will never do that in a
That's
legal...
not a typical JJ.
Yeah, no, like I'm normally like, get it,
more sex,
like have, and then for her, have sex with this 19-year-old, because even if he blows his load on your thighs, give him 5 minutes, he'll be good to go. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, but I was literally, I was like, please do not have sex. And that's really weird for me. But I think it was some decent writing and well acted in that would have, what we saw in the end of the movie is their relationship of being friends, and she's driving him to Princeton while she's going to California. Like, that would not have been believable for me if they had actually had intercourse. And so I was really grateful that they didn't, because I was like, you did too much emotional work to let that. Yeah, I sound like a normal human being right now, but like, that's what I was like.
I hate it. Where's the old JJ?
Seriously, I was like, do not put that in. Like, I was so mad. And then I was like, equally, like, I wasn't, but I laughed so hard when she grabs like the fluffy lobster.
Oh, that poor lobster.
Cleans herself off. The guy about lost it. And Casey, I hear Casey, we went with one of Casey's friends, and she leans over to Megan. She's like, gross. And I was like, you do what you got to do. But yeah, I was like, oh no, they're going to actually have sex. And I was like, whoa. She just said, yeah, let's have sex. I was like, no, don't do that. Oi. Anyway, it was weird. It was a weird moment for me. Like, I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience that I wasn't rooting this dude on in that moment, but I wasn't. I was like, no. That's a mistake. Go back to the Asian chick. Go find Natalie. It was really weird for me. Really weird. But, okay. Should we rate this thing?
Let's do it.
All right, you go first, man. I'm curious.
Right. So I was struggling with this one.
Yeah.
Because, I mentioned it just a little while ago where I feel like I was almost bait and switched, right? But I'm also not upset that I was bait and switched.
Yeah.
Because it was in a good way, I guess is the best way to put it, to where, or I wasn't upset with the overall story. I think they did a good job. It was a fresh take on Hollywood, which thank goodness we need it.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of all that, Jennifer Lawrence naked.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I mean, and it's almost hard to rate this movie because it's really just Jennifer Lawrence's performance that makes
Sure.
it good. And it's giving, I mean, giving credit seems wrong to the movie because it should all go to her.
Yeah.
And her performance is what took this movie from honestly probably being a 0 to where I'm going to give it as a 3.5. Like 100%, this is her movie, her film, and she's going to have a great piece of history to remember when she's 89 years old, and doesn't look like she does anymore. So yeah,
Fair.
3.5 for me. I don't think I'll watch it again. If I'm totally honest, I mean it was nice to watch, but I don't think it would drive me to watch it again.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
Yeah, 3.5.
It's fair.
What about you?
Yeah, look, this one's been a struggle for me too, because I walked away having a good time in this movie. Like I laughed a lot. And I felt some like emotional power within some of the performances and some of the, the topics that we talked about. But you're right. It's so interesting because the movie as a whole, and we said this at the beginning, without Jennifer Lawrence is an epic failure. It cannot work. Okay, I don't want to say cannot, because I'm sure there's some person out there that could, that we just don't know about. I see a fuck ton of movies and I know a lot about actors and actresses and who they are and how well they play, at least in my opinion. There is nobody out there on a female as an actress. I don't even know if you were to reverse the roles, which nobody would ever do because that's creepy and shit. But I don't think there's another, or you make a homosexual version of this. I don't think there's a male character that could have carried it. At least not off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a couple that could, but it would be hard. But I don't see it happening in the same way. Like Jennifer Lawrence is this movie. Okay. And, she produced it. Good on her. Like it is her movie. And I hope that she's got a really great back end deal, because any money that this movie makes, she deserves to make a ton of it off of it, because she carried it. And she carried it so well that I left laughing my ass off. And I had a great time in this movie, probably more fun in this movie than I've had in a while in a movie theater, which is awesome. But it's a weird choice for me. It's not my usual cup of tea for a movie, but I had a great time. And yeah, she carried it, and it was funny, and I laughed, and there were some poignant moments that felt a little weird, but they still worked. To the point that I was like, don't have sex, you'll ruin this great friendship that you've built. And I was like, that's weird, because I don't give a shit. Like, really? Choice between friendship and sex with Jennifer Lawrence? What the fuck are you doing, dude? But
there's no choice.
I literally was rooting against it so they did a great job. I had a lot of fun. I'm going to give it a 3.5 as well. I think it's well above the average. It still is what it is, right? It's still a silly rom-com-ish best friend type movie that relied solely on one actor, which means it can't be that good at its core, but it was good enough that I had a lot of fun. And I'm with you. I don't know that I'd choose to sit down and watch it again, but I will say this. I laughed enough that if it was one of those things where I'm flipping through some shit and I see it and I'm in the mood to have a good time and laugh, I'd watch it again, because Jennifer Lawrence is funny as fuck. And so I would watch her make me laugh, because I did a lot. So yeah, 3.5. I don't know that I'd actively choose to watch it again, but I also don't know if I can't say that I'm like, I want to watch like a rom-com. It might run through my head to pick this one because it's funny. You know what I mean? Or if you were to compare me to say, would you watch Failure to Launch or this one? It depends on how hard I want to laugh. You know what I mean? Do I want to laugh like to the point that I can't breathe? I'm going to watch this. Do I want to giggle and laugh and have a good time wholesomely? Then I'm going to watch Failure to Launch, right? But Yeah, so this one's kind of torn me up a little bit. I didn't know what to do with this one, but overall,
interesting.
Funny movie. Yeah, I honestly went in thinking I was going to be like, the movie sucked, but Jennifer Lawrence is amazing. Jennifer Lawrence is amazing and made this movie not suck. That's really
That's hard to do as well.
Yeah,
when you got
very hard.
When you got to put it on your shoulders.
Yeah, very hard. So, anyway, there it is. Cool, Alec. When they're not listening to us talk about Jennifer Lawrence carrying a movie, where else can people find us?
Oh, I'll be happy to say it, but I think I got an answer for your question, JJ.
Oh boy,
Neil Patrick Harris.
Ooh, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I'll put that out there. Neil Patrick Harris might have been able to put on a similar performance, but that's all I've got.
I thought about too, like Jason Segel.
Okay,
since we're talking How I Met Your Mother, like Jason Segel, I think could probably.
That's a good one
because I think about because he didn't carry that entire movie.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
That movie's funny as fuck too, but he didn't carry that whole movie, but he carried a lot of it. But Jason Segel, depending on the writing, I think he might be able to carry it. But it's still, I can't guarantee it.
Yeah, I can't guarantee it either. It's a shot in the dark that it might happen.
I'd have to see it. And with Jennifer Lawrence, I'll never ask again, can Jennifer Lawrence carry an entire movie by herself? I'll never ask it because she can. This movie proves
very clearly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to my podcast duties.
That's right.
So thank you for tuning in to No Hard Feelings. Like we both said, we were a bit torn on this one when we were going to rate it, but regardless, it's a refreshing change in pace from what Hollywood has been shoving down our throats the last couple of years. So I am all for that. Did you agree with our verdicts? Let us know in the comments or by hitting that like button if you do, or even if you don't. We don't judge. Special shout out to our current patron, Billy Mitchell's Joystick. There's a joke in there, but I can't say it after this movie. So moving on, we have a lot of activity happening on our Patreon with plenty of outtakes, shenanigans, and content deemed unacceptable for the greater viewing audience. If you guys are interested in just how degenerate we are, Patreon is the place to be. With that, I will send it back to the Maharaja of MASH, the great Bambino, a JJ.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Yeah, man, you should definitely join our Patreon. It's funny. We put on some ridiculous shit. So, and you get to help choose, which will be a lot more of that coming soon. So, even be more active. Charles will be happy, or the joystick man. With that, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And a magic out.
Whoa!